Good day. I am Erna from the University of South Africa. Today I want to speak to you about the fourth revolutions world that we are living in. Most people know about the fourth industrial revolution, or rather, most of us have heard of it, and we have an idea that this term is responsible for constant change and disruption in our lives. Some of the changes that the 4IR brought are welcomed. Video calling helps us to stay in touch with loved ones, and internet and phone banking is a blessing. But when we speak about something at the dinner table and within an hour advertisements about that product or service jumps up on my phone screen, I become actually aware of the safety and security threats that the 4IR brought. Do you know that there are also other important fourth revolutions that are adding to the complexities, change and chaos that we are experiencing? There are at least 6 fourth revolutions that are currently responsible for sudden, radical and often disruptive change to human comfort zones. During these revolution and change phases, we experience anxiety, discomfort, and even cognitive dissonance. It is therefore important to have a clear knowledge and understanding of what these influences are and their historical developments to effectively manage their impact on the way we work, think, and act. The oldest of the 6 major fourth revolutions is the communication revolution, and the youngest revolution is the industrial revolution. The other 4 major revolutions include the education revolution, the revolutions in human self-understanding, the revolutions that develop society, and the revolutions that develop civilization. I will be discussing each one of these separately. This table shows them all together and compare their timelines. It would be interesting to explore the interactions between these revolutions and the roles that they play in different parts of the world. But this presentation provides only an introductory and descriptive summary of the 6 fourth revolutions. As we speak, the world is moving towards the next stage or even stages of these revolutions, and some are already developing. The concepts of the 5th industrial revolution, which is human-machine collaboration, the 6th one, which is focusing on sustainability and environmental impact, and even the 7th industrial revolution, that is the development of natural, organic, artificial intelligence, are already in process. In line with the rapid developments in some of the fourth revolutions, Japan is already implementing Society 5, which uses high-speed IT infrastructure that includes cloud computing, data centers, networks, and big data to manage municipal infrastructures to provide intelligent water, transport, and energy networks, as well as digital healthcare. The aim here is to develop a super smart, automated, and independent society. Sadly, in stark contrast to these developments, the global south is still coming to grips with most of the earlier revolution stages. For example, large parts of Africa are seemingly still trapped in the 2nd industrial revolution due to historical and geopolitical issues. But we will come back to this. Some of these revolutions developed over thousands of years, while others, like the social and industrial revolutions, developed within a few centuries. Of course, these revolutions did not happen in isolation of one another. They often overlap, especially during the later revolutions, and stimulate new developments, both positive and negative, in other revolution fields. For example, the first industrial revolution moved society from agricultural to industry, and the second industrial revolution overlapped with the start of the fourth communication revolution that brought cinema, radio, and telegraph into use, while on the negative side, it also increased unemployment. Ever since this combination hit society, life is regulated by money and the clock. Although the industrial revolutions are the most recent of the six major revolutions, they are also the ones with the most dramatic influences in human life. And they also instigated some of the revolutions in other fields, such as the first industrial revolution that moved Western society from agriculture to industry. The Industrial Revolution started in the late 18th century in Britain through three important processes. First, the invention of machines for manufacturing and production. Second, the ability to use steam engines in industrialized transport, such as trains and ships. And third, the use of organized labor to work in factories and mines. Results from this change include population growth, urbanization, mass employment options, and also the exploitation of workers. Less than 100 years later, the second industrial revolution used electricity, gas, and oil to generate energy. The mass production of cheap steel and processing chemicals decreased production time and cost significantly, which caused the second industrial revolution to boost the internationalizing of the economy, while opening opportunities for long distance and international transportation networks that could quickly and effectively move ideas and people. Another 100 years passed, after which the third industrial revolution brought the transition from mechanical to analog electronics to digital technology that introduced computers, robots, and the internet, while nuclear power was introduced as a source of energy. While the internet and computers make life and work easier for all of us, the speed of change increased significantly while the world shrank into a well-connected village. Only about 50 years later, the fourth industrial revolution brought a shift towards renewable energy. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, as well as blockchain and quantum computing caused the dissolving of boundaries and the fusion of the physical, digital, and biological worlds. Dating back over thousands of years, the communication revolutions developed slowly and with much longer intervals than the younger industrial revolutions. Before people developed speech as the first communication revolution, they had to use actions, gestures, sounds, and art to convey ideas and information. The development of languages, about 40,000 years before the Common Era, promoted the transfer of abstract ideas and made it possible to transfer traditions, rituals, messages, belief systems, and taboos orally from one generation to the next. Pictures and pictographic scripts preceded the development of written communication, but by about 10,000 BCE, writing was invented independently in China, the Near East, and Mesoamerica. This marked the second major breakthrough in human communication skills and added recorded history to the communication toolbox. Although printing is used in China since the 7th century, the Western world only implemented printing presses from the mid-1400s, promoting mass literacy and education and providing quick and cheap ways to spread ideas and news. The fourth communication revolution converts media and technology, resulting in virtual reality, augmented reality, and AI-powered algorithms that offer immersive and interactive experiences. Technology-based communication is contributing to the blurring of the lines between physical, digital, and biological components of society. The first revolutionary change in human self-understanding was instigated by Copernicus's findings that Earth is orbiting the Sun and not the other way around, displacing Earth as the center of the universe, which forced people to reconsider their role and place in both the solar system and creation. The second major discovery about ourselves and our relationships was brought about by the work of Darwin, who displaced us from the center of the biological kingdom by showing that some species have evolved over time through natural selection. The psychoanalytic work of Freud brought a radical displacement from the idea by René Descartes that the mind is entirely conscious and transparent to itself, by arguing that consciousness is only a small part of the mind and that unconscious processes are primarily drivers of human emotion, thought, and behavior. Turing, the father of the artificial intelligence, reconceptualized human self-understanding through machine intelligence, while Floridi himself can be considered as the father of the current developing fifth revolution in human self-knowledge. He claims that we are not Newtonian stand-alone and unique agents, but we are informational organisms connected and embedded in the infosphere which we share with other natural and artificial agents. From the earliest times, education and training are closely linked with human development. Formalized instruction started during the 18th and 19th centuries when education was done in an educator-centered, lecturing, passive learning style focusing on mass education. Education 1 focused on reading, writing, and basic mathematics skills. Education 2 improved learning experiences by including interaction between educators, subject specialists, and students through using both synchronous and asynchronous communication methods and focusing on communication, contribution, and collaboration. Education 3 shifted its focus to student-centeredness, with educators acting as guides and facilitators, and a constructivist approach to individualized learning that revolved around knowledge creation, critical thinking, and problem solving. Education broke free from the restrictions such as time and space, while content became freely available. Education 4 uses AI and smart technology to encourage individuals' lifelong, life-wide, and on-demand learning in support of creativity, innovation, and problem solving, while developing future-fit skills, competencies, and adaptabilities. The main education responsibility is now transferred to the students. Currently, education is experimenting with the use of generative AI, while the focus is on the sustainability of human life and the future of our planet. Next, we explore the revolutions in the development of civilizations. The hunter-gatherer groups of people crafted tools and divided tasks, while fire was used for protection, light, heat, and food preparation. The moment that agriculture progressed, people had the option to abandon the nomadic lifestyle to settle and focus on farming at locations where resources were readily available. These more permanent settlements brought larger numbers of people together, which led to the specialization of trade and new career opportunities. Economy, politics, and religion became important aspects of control. The industrial society corresponded with production, massification through factories, and machines that replaced manual labor. As a result, people started earning money in exchange for their labor. Social class structures soon emerged. The population grew despite severe exploitation, and before long, the concept of human rights developed. Linked to the development of the fourth communication revolution, civilization transformed through the introduction of information technology that allowed information to flow quickly and accurately all over the world. The social revolutions typically originated in specific locations, from where it spread to other countries and groups, often altering global perspectives and lifestyles. The Protestant Reformation movement dramatically transformed the religious, political, and cultural landscape of Europe. It led to the creation of a new branch of Christianity and stimulated the rise of national churches, a surge in religious wars, and brought about shifts in power and the role of religion in society. The religious revolutions encouraged a religious pluralism, challenged traditional hierarchies, and stimulated alternative perspectives about faith, governance, and human rights. The French Revolution that overthrew the monarchy and established a republic was driven by social inequalities, economic hardship, and the Enlightenment ideals, leading to termination of the feudal system and the rise of nationalism. It also led to the development of modern political ideologies and influenced subsequent revolutions and social movements. The Russian economic revolution brought an end of the Russian Empire, as Russia's involvement in World War I fueled widespread dissatisfaction with the Tsarist government. The collapse of this regime and the rise of the Bolsheviks had a huge impact on global political thought and the development of socialist and communist movements. In Western culture, the period from 1960 to 2020 was marked by significant social and personal freedom movements advocating for equality and individual rights and challenging traditional norms. This era witnessed shifts in attitudes and laws concerning race, gender, sexuality, and political participation, culminating in a more inclusive and diverse society. The idealization of Western culture brought strong opposition from non-Western societies that pushed back through movements such as Africanization, decolonization, nationalism, and cultural preservation movements. Finally, why is it important for the global south to take note of the six major fourth revolutions? Regarding the industrial revolutions, the global south's position is complex. It is characterized by historical exploitation dating from the second and third IRs, when the South was used as a source of cheap raw materials and cheap labor. This led to a persistent development gap between North and South, while the current focus is to leapfrog towards sustainable energy, advanced communication systems, and inclusivity. The Global South's position on the digital communication revolution is marked by a dual perspective. On the one hand, it provides an opportunity for social economic development and a voice to challenge traditional narratives. But it also presents challenges regarding digital control, infrastructure inequalities, and potential digital colonialism. Developing countries aim to use digital technologies for inclusive growth and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The social revolutions impacted the Global South by shaping the global systems of colonialism, followed by anti-colonial nationalism and post-colonial development, and by introducing ideologies like capitalism, democracy, and socialism. The legacy of colonial rule continues with the intellectual and digital colonialization of the Global South at the hands of dominant Western powers. The development of civilizations advanced the expansion of permanent settlements, more sustainable food supplies, and urbanization that at the same time led to increased pressure on the environment. Access to education and connectivity improved with digital colonization. For example, data harvesting as the flip side of this coin. Although the initial developments regarding human self-understanding had minimal impact on the Global South, the consequences of the European explorations and concepts of survival of the fittest was used to justify racism, eugenics, and civilizing missions. On the more positive side, despite its Eurocentric origin, the psychoanalytic theory of Freud has been adopted by the Global South to deal with the psychic trauma of colonialism. The digital revolution brought connectivity and development, but also a digital divide and dependency. The revolutions in education presented the Global South with both significant opportunities for development and critical challenges related to equality and equity and infrastructure. Opportunities arose for more flexible learning and global interaction. However, the digital divide still presents challenges due to a lack of infrastructure, consistent electricity supplies, and internet connectivity and costs. So, in essence, the 6 major fourth revolutions provided both challenges and opportunities for the Global South. The Global South must navigate these challenges by adapting the ideas to local context, implement them as tools in promoting Africanization, decolonization, nationalism, cultural preservation, and economic empowerment. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to read the full article and get access to all the sources I used, please use the link on the screen to our journal called Text.